VI guy here, and welcome back to another video on my channel. Have you ever wanted to use the Rockstar Editor but didn't know how? Well, this is the perfect video for you. Today I will be covering simple things like camera placements and camera angles and how to transition between them. One of the things you may not have noticed was that I was actually the driver and the passenger of this vehicle. So learning to use the Rockstar Editor, you'll also learn simple tricks that you can do in order to produce the best video content ever. So I will see you out there in Sandy Shores, just off of Route 68, where we will be filming a few bikers taking a stroll. Before we get into the editing portion of this video, I decided to add this short clip for those of you who may not be interested in video editing. I know some of the groups I'm in that likes cars and are car enthusiasts also prefer taking pictures. Well, here I will show you can do just that by recording short little clips of the vehicle of your choice in the location of your choice. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words. Well, have you ever taken that one picture and didn't get the angle that you really wanted and couldn't really go back? Well, just doing a short recording, maybe 10 to 15 seconds, will allow you to take 1,000 pictures, and that is what I will demonstrate here with this car behind me. I'm also going to include a short clip just in case you're on the fence about video editing, what you can do if you decided to put your pictures together to create a short video.
Gave you too much, now I'm swallowed. Now I'm the fool while you're breaking rules. Dangerous path that I follow. Oh, go on, just do what you do. And it bleed for you, cry for you, let me bleed.
I hope you enjoyed that clip of the Tygon. Don't worry, I will teach you exactly how I did that in this coming parts of the video. I'd like to give a special shout out to Dr. Killa and Guru for assisting me with this part of the video. It is impossible to do this without help from some of your friends, especially when you're trying to switch between different players within the circle. So special shout out to them. It is important to note that all this recording was done while I was in free mode with my friends. To do this, you must first hold down on the directional pad, and you'll notice on the left of your screen, just above the map, there is a start recording option and a turn on action replay option. We will be focusing on just start recording in this video. All you need to do is hit A if you're on Xbox or X if you're on PlayStation to initiate the recording. You'll then notice a red circle that continues to fill up to show you that the game is recording whatever it is you're doing on screen. A couple things that are important to note: depending on how much that is going on around you, meaning more players or more going on in the environment, the quicker the circle will fill up, meaning that the segment will end sooner. But the less that is going on, the slower the circle fills. The other important thing to note is that if you are in first person or if you switch to first person, you will not be able to adjust the camera angle. For example, I can actually edit the camera in this video any which way I like once I go to recording. But once I switch it to first person, as you can see here, I will not be able to change this angle or the previous angles even when I was in third person. So if you are going to record something in first person, it is important to end the segment that you have in third person and start a new segment in just first person so you don't lose out on any valuable angles or positions you would like to use when editing the video. Once you have enough recorded clips, you're going to go to the campaign and go over to Rockstar Editor, and here is where you will find a list of all the clips that you recorded while playing, whether it be during online or in campaign. I went ahead and I added that same clip that you saw just now with me and my friends while riding our bikes on Route 68 in Sandy Shores. So we're going to go ahead and edit that same clip. So now we're at the point in the video for why most of you are here, which is video editing. Keep in mind that this is still a basic tutorial and that I will not be covering all the features available in the Rockstar Editor, but just enough to get you started. One of the first things I'd like to point out is that this recording was pre-recorded and it looks exactly the same as how it was recorded while I was playing online. There's no special cameras, no special angles. The only difference is that there is no display of maps or any of the heads-up display that you would typically see when playing. The two key things that you're gonna be needing to use when using the Rockstar Editor is cameras, and you wanna switch to free camera. Free camera is going to be your best friend. This is what will allow you to position the camera anywhere within the bubble around your character, which is the second thing I want to point out to you. There is an invisible circle that is placed around your character, and you can only place the camera within this circle. You will also be able to track any player or NPC within that circle. If you notice, that car all the way in the back is not within the circle. So when I go to track a player, and I'm going to show you that here on screen, we're going to look at targets. Right now it's selected at none. If I look at player, it'll track me. If I look at 1, it'll track Killa. If I go to 2, it'll track the guy in the green truck. And if I go to 3, it'll track Guru. But if I try to click over one more to the right, it will not track that car because that car is not within the circle. So let's go back to edit camera. I'm going to place this camera in the sky, similar to the video that I showed you. And what we're going to do is try to recreate the same video that I showed you with similar camera angles. It probably won't be exactly the same, as that was pre-edited and this is not. I'm editing this on the fly. So I'm going to put this camera about right here, and you'll notice that the camera doesn't move as the video plays. You just see the bikes go by. Now I'm going to add a little bit of life to this scene. What I'm going to do is bring the camera closer to the ground, and I'm also going to transition the character from one point to the next. So as the bikes are going down, I'm going to move the camera up just to create some kind of life. So I'm going to place this marker right here, and I'm going to cameras, and I'm going to move this camera up this way. It'll also create the illusion that the bikes are actually moving faster than they really are, because the bikes are going one direction and the camera's going opposite of their direction. Okay, so I am telling Rockstar Editor that I want the camera to be here, and then by the time it gets to this portion in the clip, I want it to be over here. And how I can transition between the two is blending. So I'm going to come here to cameras on the first camera, and I'm going to go to blend mode, and I'm going to hit overwrite once for linear. It is going to be a linear blend between this camera position and the next camera position. There is also this option called smooth, and smooth can be a little bit complicated once you're tracking moving targets. And I will explain that in the more advanced video, because if you don't do it right, you'll often find yourself outside of the bubble around your character. So for this particular video, we're going to use linear. So I'm going to go ahead and hit play with a linear blend between my first camera and my second camera. All right, so now that we have that, I'm going to make some slight adjustments just to go with the video, because you'll notice when you make your own video, you'll make plenty of adjustments. I don't like how the camera slowly got above Guru, so I'm going to make an adjustment where it moves a little bit faster. Okay, and Guru's just outside the line. So another thing I'm going to do is adjust where the video starts, just so that Guru is a little bit more in the circle than he already is. All right, so all I did was decrease some of the start time so that Guru is a little bit closer to me than he was in the beginning of the video. I'm going to still set this camera just above his bike. Edit camera. And yeah, okay. So here's his bike. I'm going to position this right about here. Okay. So when I play the clip again, it should look a little bit better than him riding slowly. Okay, there we go. All right, now you'll notice that the camera went back to default because that red circle that is following me just hit where this camera is positioned. Automatically, it moves the camera back to my character. All right, so what we're gonna do is after these three bikes come by the camera, I'd like the camera to follow one of the bikes. So I'm gonna go ahead and place another marker right here. I'm gonna come to camera and I'm gonna come to edit camera. I'm gonna go ahead and move it. And let's say I want the first camera to follow me. Okay, let's say I'd like to place it right here by my front tire where you can kind of see the other two bikes. All right, I'm gonna place the camera right here. I want this camera to follow me as I am riding. So I'm gonna come here to move with target and I'm gonna select player, which is usually the first option. The first option is usually you, the main character. So I'm gonna select player, okay? I'm gonna edit the camera just a little bit because I selected the look at character. It moves slightly, okay? So now I'm gonna have it move with player. So when I hit play, this camera should follow me. All right, now there's two options when the camera is moving with a particular object or player. You have mount type flexible and mount type rigid. The difference between the two is that one is mounted to the object and one is just following the object. So if I hit flexible, it'll just follow the object. Now if I make a turn on my bike, as you can see here, the camera is just still following me. But if I come back to rigid, when my bike turns, the camera turns. It's almost like the camera is physically mounted to the bike, as you can see here. Depending on what kind of angle you're trying to get, you may want to cycle between rigid and flexible. For the sake of this clip, I'm actually going to leave it as rigid because it allows the camera to still track the bikes behind me. All right, so I'm going to play this for a second of the bike riding and the camera following it. And let's say I want to transition this camera from one point to another. I'm going to come here to cameras and I'm going to edit the camera. In between the first marker that I placed and the second marker, I'd like the camera to, I don't know, switch sides. So I'd like the camera to end up maybe right here, okay? So between this camera view and this camera view, I'd like the camera to transition between the two. So I make sure that I come back here. There's going to be a best friend, which is blend mode. We're going to select linear. As the bike is riding, it's going to keep the same target and transition between the two camera angles that I selected. All right, so now that we've done that, we're actually going to track another player. Let's go to Killa. Let's see what kind of bike he is riding, which I'm pretty sure is a Hexer. We're going to go to free camera and I'm going to change move with target to player one. You notice the blue arrow above his head. So we're going to go ahead and edit that camera and we're going to move it right next to his bike. He has a pretty nice bike, don't you think? And let's see. Where would I like to place it? Let's say I want to place it just over his shoulder. Okay. Actually, let's come right here. Okay, so we're going to be right over his shoulder. And again, the camera is going to move with him. I can either select flexible or rigid. I'm going to leave it at flexible so you can see that when he starts to make his turn, the camera kind of doesn't really change with his bike direction. All right, so if you're trying to have the camera face a particular direction, your best bet is to use rigid. Okay, I'm going to play that again with the rigid option selected. As he turns down the street, you kind of see the camera turning as well. Now, I particularly don't like that feature in this portion of the clip because the camera is kind of jumping. Depending on how stiffly he makes the turn, the camera will do the same exact thing. So I'm going to go ahead and adjust the camera slightly for the sake of the video. I'm going to lower it. I'm going to turn it more left because as he makes the turn, it'll adjust and it'll be facing right. And we'll do flexible. Right, so now the camera's not doing that crazy jump it was doing, and we still get to maintain our angle. Okay, another cool feature that I'm going to show you how to use is shake. So we're gonna come to cameras, and we're gonna come down to the shake feature. Because we're so close to the bike, you could imagine a motor like this. The ground is shaking, the bike is shaking. We're gonna add some ground vibration. Now, you can set the intensity very high, but we're not going to do that. We're going to probably keep it around 4, all right, for a slight vibration. As the bike is riding along, you're going to notice that the bike is shaking, and that's really just a camera feature. You know, it doesn't look too insane, but it's just a small enough detail to signify that we're that close to the bike. Okay, and I'm going to set a marker right about here where, let's see. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. At this particular point in the video, I'm going to place a camera right here by that stand. Only because Buddy here is just hanging out, having some coffee, you know, around his fruits. And here comes these bikers about to knock some of his apples out of the crates because they're so loud. So what we're going to do is place this camera right by homeboy's face right here. You know, no offense. Where's your mask? All right, I'm going to place this camera right about here. And what we're going to do is we're going to look at the bikers. So I'm going to place it here, and I see Guru in the back. Since he's the last biker, I'm going to have the camera look at him because it'll catch the other 2 bikers before him go by. And we're going to take ground vibration off because we don't need the camera shaking in front of his face. Actually, we'll put handheld camera, which is a very popular feature I use within my GTA vlogs. All right, I'm going to still leave it at 4 because he doesn't have Parkinson's disease. All right, so I'm going to look at Guru, okay, which is target 2. I think there's a car to the right, but I don't want to cycle to that car. All right, so as I hit play, you'll notice that the camera is just focusing on Guru, and it shouldn't move. Let's hit play and see what we get. Okay, so it's moving. I figured I know I didn't change something. Right now, I have the camera moving with me, and I don't want it to move with me. I want it to stay in the stand. So I'm going to change this to none and have it look at Guru. So now it should be exactly what we want. All right, so as he rides by, it focuses on his bike. Now I'm going to show you how to get back into the scene. Once the bikes go by, the camera jumps back to me because, of course, that circle of death. Once the camera gets to that circle, it's going to jump back to a default position. If you hold right on the D-pad, you can slowly play the clip and see which point the camera jumps back. So right about where this marker is, actually just before it, the camera jumps back. So this is where I'm going to place that marker right before it jumps back so that I can keep a fluid video. And here is where I'm going to start my next clip. All right, so now that we have our angle from the stand, we're back on the bikes. I placed the camera right on Guru, and I like the camera to transition from being next to him to being next to me. So I'm going to create the timeline a little bit further. I'm going to place my marker, and I'm going to go ahead and move the camera up here to me. Okay, and let's see, we're on the right side of Guru, so I'm gonna stay on the right side of me and place the camera right about here. Now we're gonna keep it straight. Actually, I'm gonna have it past me just slightly. Okay, make sure I come back to blend and make sure that is on. It is linear. It's following Guru. Camera's flexible. All right, and we're gonna keep ground vibration on. We're gonna put it at 6 since it's going through more bikes. It's shaking a lot now, but once we're actually in motion, it won't look so bad. So let's see what we have. Okay, so after we do that little bit, I am actually gonna show you another little trick that I did in the video, which is I had the camera spin around. So here's what we're gonna do. I'm going to place this camera here, and I'm going to have the bikes come directly towards my camera. Let's see. I kind of had to place it there. I don't know exactly where the bike is going to be I don't want it to move with anybody. I don't want it to look. I don't want it to move at all. We're going to keep it right here. I'm going to take vibration off. We're going to take blend easing off. Okay, so let's see where the bike ends up. Okay, not too bad. I need to move slightly to the left. So we're going to come and adjust that slightly over to the left. I'll look right at my bike. Let's see what we end up with. Or maybe slightly to the right now, just to get that perfect positioning. The other way to do this would be, check this out. Once the bike is right here in front of me, I can actually place a marker here and adjust it to get right in the middle of the tire, right? And then watch this. As soon as I get the camera right where I want it to be, I can actually take that marker and slide it back. I can delete the old one and I can place this one right where I want it to be, so that when the bike does get here, boom, I have the perfect spot. That's another trick. You can actually place the marker ahead of time in the timeline and then move it back, just as long as the camera position is within the circle. Okay, so once the bike tire gets about right here before the clipping starts, because this is clipping, I am going to put the camera behind the bike. So I'm going to put a marker here, and we're going to go ahead to cameras, and we're going to adjust the camera. We're going to put one right back here. Okay. And similar to that clip I showed you, we're going to put this camera upside down just for cinematic effects. I know, some people might not have liked that, but I'm just displaying the different tools you can use and how, and you'll get a feel for it as you start to play around with it on your own. So I'm going to put this camera upside down. I just hold left on the D-pad to spin it around. Okay. So once the bike tire gets to this camera, it's going to appear behind the bike upside down. Boom. Okay. And then I'm going to actually spin the camera back upright. Let's say when Guru is about right there, I like the camera to be upright. So I'm going to spin it back around. Does a full 360. I might actually push that back a little bit further depending on how quickly it spins around, because I don't want to make anybody dizzy with the spinning. Okay, so let's play that clip in its entirety and see what we get. Okay, that's not so bad. I'm gonna actually spin it a little faster than that. That's goddamn Connect, man. I didn't say anything and it popped up. Okay, so I'm gonna spin the camera a little bit faster than that. Let's do this. All right. All right, that's a little bit better. All right, and again, the camera adjusted itself because of that red circle, which I'm gonna move the camera anyways because I don't want this car to be in my clip. So once we get right about where that car shows up, boom, I'm gonna adjust the camera one more time. And we'll do like a fadeaway to end the video. So I'm gonna have the camera follow me. So we're gonna come here, we're gonna move with player, and as the bikes are riding, boom, edit camera. I'm going to bring the camera back. Okay, I'm going to bring it high, right about here. I'm going to add a little zoom out just to give you the feel like we're a little bit further away. And then we're going to also come and do blend linear. So let's see what that looks like. Okay. All right, and we're going to end the video right about there. So I'm going to put a marker here, and I'm going to adjust this portion of the video and bring it all the way up. Boom. And there's our clip. So I'm going to play the clip over. I'm going to put my own music to it just because I don't want to use the Rockstar Editor music just in case of copyright issues. Give me a break. And then we're going to move on to the next segment. So I'm going to play this clip with some music over it, and you guys can make your own judgment on what you think. Be sure that you select fade out for the end transition, just so that the picture actually fades once you get to the end. right, so the last thing we're gonna do within this beginner's tutorial of the Rockstar Editor is I'm gonna show you how to adjust the speed, whether you would like to speed something up or slow something down. It actually is a great feature to add in your videos. It was one of the things that it took me a while to understand and use correctly, but I decided to add it in this video anyways, because you will find when editing a car doing a drift, to a weapon slide moving back and a round being ejected, that it adds for some great edits. So the first thing you want to do, which we went over already, is adjust your camera to free camera. And we're going to go ahead and place this camera right in front of the stall that we're in. And I'm going to go ahead and set my first marker right before my first round, which is that one. All right, marker is placed, and we're going to place our second marker. So after firing off a few rounds, I'll place my second marker. So right down below, you see it says speed, which is at 100%. 100% is normal speed. You can adjust it whether to be faster by going right or slower by going left. If you notice on the right of the marker, when I adjust the speed, the video time changes. You can tell by looking at the top right, but you can also tell by looking at the blue bar that the time has changed for that portion of the video where I'm at. So if I adjust the speed at my first marker, it will only adjust the speed within the two markers I already have placed. So let's go ahead and slow this down to 35%. So between these two markers, the video will play at a rate of 35%. You see him bouncing off the ground too. Typically, you won't notice this if you're in normal time. You know, you may see the bullet being ejected from the weapon, but you really don't have time to absorb this. But if you're in a slow motion state in the video, you actually get more time to take it all in. So I'm going to go ahead and jump a little bit forward to where I take out an assault rifle. All right, same thing, except I'm going to slow it down even more. So let's edit the camera. And let's maybe get a downrange view. Okay, right about here. Let's drop it a little. All right. So I have my first marker placed. Let's fire off some rounds. I'm going to place my second marker. Okay, so in between these two, I'm going to slow it down even more. Let's do 5%. We'll be here all day. Let's do 20%. So let's see what that looks like when this gun is firing nonstop with a 20% speed rate. You can actually see the finger of the character moving, which typically you won't notice. Well, typically you won't notice because you really can't see from this point of view. But it does add for some cool edits, especially if you're using like a sniper and you want to, you know, do a sniper shot from a rooftop. You could do that slow finger pull edit to create some kind of dramatic scene. All right. So now that we've actually gotten that out of the way, I'm going to show you one more thing, which is editing speed in first person. All right, so I cannot adjust the camera within this view at all, but I can still slow it down. So let's say I place this marker here. We reload, put 2 rounds in, and we're ready to go again. I place my second marker there. Between my 2 markers, I can adjust the speed. Let's see what the double barrel looks like reloading at a rate of 35%. All right, not bad. Now, let's also see what it looks like shooting. I'm going to go ahead and put that at 5%. Place a second marker here. And let's drop that down to 5. I'm actually going to adjust it for the sake of this video to not take so long. We're going to adjust this right before the weapon fires, which is right there. You can see it kind of jump back. All right, I'm going to place a second marker here, and we could put this back at, I don't know, normal speed. So let's see what that looks like at 5% when the double barrel fires. Not bad at all. So you can actually do some crazy edits. Just imagine if you weren't in first person, you can actually adjust the camera to be in front of you when doing that. I don't typically ever put my recordings at 5% because it's just too slow unless you really want someone to notice something. But it's worth noting that the slower it is, chances are the more you'll see. And this will conclude my beginner's course on how to use the Rockstar Editor for camera angles, transitioning, and slow motion in combat.